Our last discussion here might prove to be the most controversial of the show, guys. What we're going to try to take on uh, in the time that we have here is to talk about really how rampant speculation, spoiler culture, the spoiler industrial complex, as I like to call it, has really taken root in the fandom and in the culture. It's become this unavoidable part of the conversation. Everybody's taking part in it. We have our critics, whether you work for a magazine, whether you are a uncertified critic doing your own YouTube channel. We've got the media jumping in, and the fans are ravenous to get every single little detail, or so it would seem, that the fandom is ravenous to get every single little detail about these films before they actually come out, up to the point where you could almost reconstruct the plots of these films in their entirety and go into a film that you have more or less heard the entire plot to. That is exactly how I went into Spider-Man No Way Home. For the first time in my career as a fan, I read an entire leak of the entire plot of the movie. I got all of the major plot points. I heard about Andrew. I heard about Toby. I heard about some of the big twists. The only thing I did not hear about, spoilers, if you haven't seen Spider-Man No Way Home, was I did not hear about May's death. That was literally the only thing in the movie that I did not know about. And I have to say, I don't want to say it ruined my experience and sort of, cry over the spoiled or spilled milk, but it did change the way I perceived the film. I don't think I was able to enjoy it to the point that I might have. So, I mean, spoilers are not a new thing in the conversation. If you look at spoilers and speculation, we could go as far back as Lost, Battlestar Galactica, but social media has obviously changed the conversation when it comes to spoilers. We've got a lot of would-be scoopers out there who are trying to make a name for themselves by leaking pivotal plot points of some of these movies. And I want to go around the table, talk to the panel about how they feel about this. Is it an embedded part of the culture that we must live with now? Should we be mounting some type of a rebellion against this? Or are we making too much of a big deal about it? And I want everyone's honest thinking and thoughts about it. I want to start with you, Stanton. Just talk to me about how you feel about spoilers. Where do you draw the line? Are you someone who likes to absorb as much information about the film before you go in, or do you want some sense of surprise when you get there on opening night?
I barely even watch trailers. I mean, I'm going to watch all of these, and I'm excited for all these, just knowing they're coming, and I know that they're going to do something great with it, and I know they're going to be connected, and they're not just going off in some wild tangent. So I don't like to know anything. I'll usually watch like the first teaser trailer, just because they really don't give anything away with that. I just like to
right.
see what it's like, but that's really it. Like, just okay, I see what they're doing with, and I see what Doctor Strange is going to look like. I get it. So. That's all I want. I want no spoilers, and sometimes it's a real pain, man, to try to avoid those. Just being on our site, we're really good about not presenting those.
Yeah,
and
we've got a good community. We got a good community in that way.
Right. So we've got separate threads where spoilers are okay, and other ones where we just generally chat about it, which is cool. But just it's hard to be on YouTube channels and Twitter's just right out, man. Forget it. Like you're gonna see stuff.
All right, Twitter, you're dead if you're looking at those alerts on your phone.
So it's really obnoxious, but I'm a little split on it too, because there are some films where I actually want to know. I'm with Grandmaster here that there's a couple of films that make me a little nervous. Wakanda is one of them. Spider-Man was one of them, and I kind of liked having the ability to go in and go, all right, do I need to be nervous about this or not? And just to be able to see that's good. But people just share it way too frequently. I think it's a irresponsible fan thing, and unfortunately, that's not going to stop. So I think we're just kind of stuck with, you just got to be really careful.
Right. You've got to protect yourself. Has it impacted the way you relate to fandom communities? Because this is all about us getting together as human beings. Again, that campfire feeling that we're all into this story, that we're sharing this experience. Do you feel like your position on not being so engaged with spoiler culture isolates you from the rest of the fandom?
Yes, absolutely. I mean, you guys may have noticed I was using my Twitter account quite a lot, but it's just impossible to avoid stuff, and I didn't like it, so I just don't really now. And you guys may have noticed that. I don't know. Maybe it's been a while and you didn't. But
Yeah, I have noticed. I mean, your footprint is definitely a little smaller than it used to be, and we all miss you, but we totally understand. You know, if the next guy in the reply to your thread is going to be like, "Oh, so and so is going to be in the movie," and at the 1/3 mark, I heard this and this is going to happen. You know,
right.
that's going to ruin your enjoyment on opening night.
And the problem is one of the problems is people have different definitions of what constitutes a spoiler. So some people might think if it was posted on Reddit, hey, everybody might know about it, so therefore I can talk about it anywhere. And
Right.
I don't know. It's tough.
Yeah, and that really brings us to questions of etiquette. Do you think that there's a kind of hygiene that you'd prefer the fandom to use? Do you want everyone to be more mindful of spoilers, or would you just rather look away and let everyone do what they're going to do?
I've just resigned myself to looking away. I don't think you can control like a mass number of people. I'm okay if the standard and everybody would adhere to it would be if it's in the trailer, it's cool. If it's not in the trailer, don't talk about it. I'm fine with that. Even though I don't watch trailers, I'd at least be that's at least sensible. That makes sense. But people are gonna talk about stuff, so I'm convinced there's no avoiding it at this point.
Fair enough. Thank you for that thoughtful discourse on spoiler culture. I do want to turn to Alex now, and I'm actually really curious now that I know a little bit more about your pedigree and that you're a content creator out there in the space. You are probably balancing some of these things about being a fan, not necessarily wanting to engage with spoilers, but also then having this kind of dual responsibility to cover these things. But there are a lot of guys out there, Alex, a lot of guys, a lot of gals, they're out there clout chasing. They want to get every little shred, and the game is to be first, to put it out there in front of people. I mean, what do you think about that? What's your how do you feel about those YouTubers that are kind of like, hey, I heard this from my source, and he pulled out this piece of paper from the waist, after the meeting, and it had the whole plot, and here it is. How do you feel about that?
Yeah, I'll never cover a full plot leak on my channel. That's definitely not what I do. If you ever go check them out, I mean, I'll talk about stuff like there's one thing about Doctor Strange that kind of everyone knows about. I'll talk about that. But like I won't bring up, complete unknown stuff. I know there's one Twitter page that leaked every single cameo that's going to be in the movie. I have that channel blocked.
That's crazy.
That's
page.
Crazy. So yeah, I'm definitely not a fan of the drop everything before the movie. However, I don't really feel bad after the movie's out. I'll wait like the first weekend, but I think after that, it's kind of on you. So I don't really get why people get mad at that aspect of it.
You mean in the sense of, and I've seen the cadence. I'm not going to name any names, but I've seen a YouTuber who kind of will do the early review, no spoilers, because they probably got a screener before everyone else. Everybody's chasing these screeners, right? I just got a screener to the Batman. I didn't even go on the board. I mean, I saw the movie about 3 days before it was supposed to come out. I did a fan screener. I said, I'm not even going to go on the board, not even going to talk about it, because I don't want to spoil anybody. It's important to me. But you see a YouTuber, they get their screener, they then do a non-spoiler review, and then the movie comes out, maybe on a Thursday preview night, and then by Friday, they feel entitled enough to do a spoiler review. Alex, tell me, I mean, how do you feel about that?
If you get the opportunity to go, then one day I hope I can maybe go to one of those. Definitely, just because you're invited, don't think you have privilege over, anyone else. So I think you should definitely hold off on those types of reviews. Definitely wait, until after release and such. I don't think there's any problem with that. Maybe a couple days or so. But yeah, I mean, it is hard. It's everywhere now. And I think I think after Endgame, right, a lot of more fans came on, and so there's even a broader audience who just want to know everything without caring about that, being like a true fan. And I think that's part of it. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, what you're saying makes sense. And again, I turned those questions to you in particular because you've got a YouTube channel, and I know you have to balance trying to get your viewership up, trying to maintain it. a community. No, please talk to us about it, Alex.
It's really easy to just want to throw everything out there, honestly, because it does get views. Like I did do one video on the Venom post credit because it had leaked completely. Everyone really knew about it, and so I didn't talk about that, but I gave a warning before the video. I didn't. The thumbnail didn't have any spoiler. The title didn't either. So, but yeah, that's like my biggest video, and most of my channel's theory talk and stuff. So, right there, it kind of just proves, people do enjoy it, people like it, and they'll go and find that information, and it gets views.
Understood. Thank you so much for your insights on this and your perspective. Rob, they're out there, they're chasing clout, they're trying to get their clicks up, they're trying to get their numbers up. Is it clickbait, or is there a way to responsibly engage with this kind of, spoiler bait that gets put out? I mean, I'm not saying that spoilers and speculation is anything new. Again, you could go as far back as Battlestar Galactica. You could take a look at the discussions around Game of Thrones. Lots of speculation, lots of spoilers coming out of that. But honestly, how do you feel? Is it enough when you go to somebody's video and 2 minutes into the video they say spoiler alert, and then they put like a big red stamp up there, and then they proceed to disclose the entire plot of the film? Is that acceptable to you? Does that feel responsible? How do you feel in general about it?
For me, if you put a warning on it, so when you go into the video or you click on the article, like this will contain spoilers, that's okay, because then it's kind of on you, I feel. But I just wish that avoiding, seeking out spoilers would be, more effort than it is to avoid spoilers. Because with Spider-Man, the example you gave, I didn't seek out any articles, any spoilers, but just being on Twitter and just being online, you already know Toby's in it, Andrew's in it, all that stuff. And it didn't ruin the movie for me, but the whole time I was thinking, how cool would this be if you didn't know any of this?
If you didn't know. Yeah.
That would make it so much better. But this day and age, that's impossible. And it's also the fine balance for me as a fan, because on one side, I want to go into the movie with as little knowledge as possible. But on the other side, I really enjoy watching trailers. So I do watch all the trailers. I like all the speculation and theorizing about things that are to come. So that's part on me as well. But I feel if I go into an article or watch a video and it has a clear spoiler warning on it, that's fair game. If you don't do that, or you blurb something out in a podcast and then say, oh, sorry, that was a spoiler, like that's not right. Like that's on you. You got to be more careful than that.
Yeah. I tend to agree with you. Again, I may take a harder line in terms of spoilers and stuff. I know when I get them, I totally discredit an outlet, even if it happens accidentally or it's my fault. I tend to have some salty feelings against you after that. But we brought up No Way Home as an example of this, and it's becoming the poster child of this incredible, what I think is the beginning of an arms race between those who are seeking scoopers, those who are leakers. How culpable, my question to you, how culpable are the studios in this system? Are they leaking so that they can kind of build the clout and the excitement? Is this a collusion? Do you feel like that now that if we think of it as an arms race, Rob, with the speculators and the spoilers having the nuclear weapons, do we now have to sort of be policing a little bit more on the studio side? Like, how responsible was Sony for all of this stuff? And do you think that marketing campaign they ran, as I do, was a complete train wreck in terms of trying to keep secrets?
Oh, yeah, definitely. I definitely think there's a lot on the studio side as well. I think a lot of leaks are probably purposeful as well, because like Alex said, it gets the clicks, it gets the views. In a way, it's basically free publicity for them. It gets people talking, it gets the podcast speculating, talking about what's happening, spending half an hour analyzing a set photo. I mean, what more would you want as a studio as far as free marketing goes? Yeah. So I definitely think there's a case in that. I always kind of felt that, to be honest, it's been getting better lately, but trailers usually show too much stuff. I think one example that always comes to mind. Has nothing to do with Marvel, but it's I'll keep it as short as possible. With Terminator Salvation, I think you have the character Sam Worthington, and I think the movie makes a very big deal about the fact that he's half human, half machine.
Spoilers.
Yeah, sorry about that. Probably added something in that, but it's a very old movie.
Yeah.
But they gave that away in the very first trailer. And it's just, to me, that's just madness, because they think, oh, it's a cool moment. It plays really well in the trailer, so we'll just chuck it in there, get butts in seat, and we don't really care about the story that, you know, the director, the writer want to tell.
Right.
And I think that's something that studios need to be a lot better at. You know, try to get that free publicity from, you know, word to mouth after the movie came out instead of trying to get it before.
Yeah, and I think it comes down to a lot of the studios thinking that the worth of the film is really in the stars, who's going to be in it, rather than what the story is. Like, you're coming to see Sam Worthington, or you're coming to see Andrew Garfield, or you're coming to see so-and-so. And the story itself, oh, that's kind of incidental. That'll unfold the way it is, but you're going to get to sit with your favorite celebrity for, you know, an hour and a half or whatever it is. But anything else you'd like to add on this discussion? It's a really complicated thing to talk about and to, you know, try and come up with solutions for it.
It is. It's tough, because I also realize that it's also slightly naive to expect studios not to leak information and not to put stuff out there to get people talking, you know, because that's their bread and butter. But yeah, it's a tough one. It's just put as many warnings on it as you can is the only thing I'd say, so that everyone knows coming in, you know, it's a spoiler. If you tweet something, just use spoiler, because it's very easy to just ignore the word spoiler, and then at least I don't have to see it. Just be careful. That's the only thing I'd say. You know, don't ruin stuff for others.
Thank you so much, Rob. I'm going to take a quick follow-up question from Alex, and then I'm going to jump to the Grandmaster for his thoughts. Go ahead, Alex.
Yeah, just one more thing about No Way Home. I do love that. I really don't think they intended for anything to get out. And so even though it did, and they knew that everyone knew, and we knew that they knew pretty much. But I love that they wouldn't confirm it. And Marvel Studios convinced Sony to not include them in the trailer, even for 1 second. So I do love that, you know, that was, even though we kind of knew, it was still fun to go that night and kind of, you know, see it for the first time.
And you're right, Alex. They really lived on that 0.3% of like uncertainty. It was like, you may think you know, but you don't know that we know, we know. So, right. And they really lived on the edge of that for the last half of the ad campaign. And I was like, man, as bad as they are at this in the marketing department at Sony, I got to give them credit for that spunk. Just for being so brazen with it. They're like, yeah, just erase them with the magic eraser. They won't be, so he'll be punching the air, Mr. Executive. That's fine.
I got into an argument with someone on Twitter about that.
Yeah. But in any event, last but certainly not least, our beloved Grandmaster, I need you to sound off on, and I want to talk to you about a specific area, because you're a moderator. Much like myself, you have to engage with speculation and spoilers all the time. You're walking that tightrope as a content creator. And I want to talk to you a little bit about speculation, which is a little bit different than spoilers. We see that there's a segment of the fandom that is really willing to speculate themselves into a corner and try to guess the entire plot to the movie, even if they have nothing to go on that's official. They'll kind of try to spin out their own narratives, which really come out like really elaborate fan fiction, but then some of it gets picked up as like, oh, this could possibly happen. Mephisto, right? Like we get that kind of But what is your take on this? And let me ask you a very direct question. The next MCU movie that comes out, if you run into a 1,500-word diatribe about the entire plot and you happen to read it, somebody casts a spell on you, you read the whole thing, are you going to see that movie?
Depends if I like it. No, I will definitely go see a movie. We have this on the board. Eternals. Somebody posted a spoiler from Reddit on the board in the spoiler discussion. So
Yep, it
no
was in the
harm
spoiler
done.
discussion. Yeah.
Yeah, but it was the exact plot of the movie. I didn't read it actually when it was posted. I read it when I had seen the movie, and I was shocked actually how precise that leak was. So that can only come from people who have read the script, seen the script.
Right.
That means it's somebody at the studio. It's simple as that, or somebody at the crew at least.
Yeah,
But
somebody is leaking.
Yeah.
That's what we know.
yeah, so it's quite obvious studios use this to maybe even feel the water a bit, see if how the fans are reacting, if they need a rewrite, something like that. Yeah, I'm not a fan of spoilers or anything, and speculation. Well, I tend to do that as well. But we actually recently I've been rewatching our WandaVision review series, and not to say that we are good, but we are good. We actually our speculation for the most part was spot on, and
Yeah.
and it never went too far. We actually predicted quite some things that were happening in that show quite early on. So, but yeah, when I see what people are doing on Twitter and stuff like that, when it comes to spoilers and speculation, I tend to block those people, or not follow them, keep my timeline clean of that kind of stuff. I stopped following all those MCU people or websites that are constantly tweeting those kind of stuff. I mean, Spider-Man: No Way Home was totally ruined for me because of this. And no, I wish I could say Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness isn't spoiled for me, but it is.
I'm so sorry to hear that. I have taken in no spoilers on that film. Nothing.
Yeah, I've seen the cast list, so that was leaked. So yeah, it's. I hope it's not a real one. Let's just keep it at that. Yeah, it's really hard to avoid that kind of stuff because it comes from all directions.
All directions. And social media makes it even harder to avoid.
Yeah.
And but there's a conversation that needs to be had. What do you think? My last question before I do a couple of follow-ups on the panel. But Grandmaster, what does the etiquette look like to you? How do we engage with each other as fans, respect fans who don't mind being spoiled and knowing the whole plot versus people who would rather know a little less? What are the rules of engagement look like to you?
I said something about this earlier on another video. You used to have no social media or anything. You were only talking to friends or family or people you know, colleagues, whatever, classmates. I've seen a movie. It's great. You should go and see it. It has that actor in it, or but you didn't tell the story. You didn't spoil it for that person. And now in social media, you don't care about the people you meet on social media, but the people you are engaging with, the people you are following or are following you, aren't they the friends you have online?
Yeah,
why would you treat those people different than the people you know in real life? So if you just treat people the same, whether it's real life or online, and stay decent and not spoil, then you know what you can tell a person you know about a movie without ruining the experience for him. I mean, can you imagine you have like a movie like The Usual Suspects back in the late 90s, and I was telling you exactly what would happen in the movie. you really don't want to see it, because then it's not a really,
Yeah.
it's a good movie, but that thing is really important. You see, I'm still not spoiling it, even though it's been almost 25 years that it came out. But
You are a gentleman and a scholar, sir.
yeah, but you know what I mean. I mean, if you found that's how you should do it online as well. Just you can say it's a great movie. I saw the Batman today. What I posted on Twitter was, the Batman is good. It may be a bit too long, but I enjoyed it overall. That's it. Then everybody knows how I felt about the movie without it being spoiled. I could tell you a lot of stuff about the Batman, but I won't, because I know people haven't seen it or don't even want to see it.
It's still early in the release cycle, and we appreciate that.
So,
but we know, your sense of the etiquette is that this isn't quite a do unto others situation so much as let's just try to be mindful. Let's just try to be mindful when we're having these
just
discussions.
act online the way you act when you're talking to your friends or family about a movie. And I think everybody is okay. But apparently what happens online, nobody cares.
Well, that being said, thank you for those notes on this. Again, really challenging discussion to have. I want to turn to Stanton to talk to him about his follow-up here. What did you have to say on the matter?
I just thought the speculation topic is always interesting, because I think we do a good job, and I try to do a good job discouraging this. People speculate themselves to death in some of these things, to the point that they're not able to enjoy what it is they supposedly enjoy.
Right.
I brought up WandaVision. I think that's probably the best example, because you not only had Mephisto, but you had Peter's thing. And I don't remember who exactly was saying it. I think most of us were, but I know I was strongly encouraging people not to think that was Fox Quicksilver.
Yeah.
Really strong. And I remember just a few weeks ago, actually, on Just Channel, we had a discussion about it, and one of his guests brought up that everybody thought that was going to be Fox Quicksilver. I was like, no, they did not. They did not. And I think we all, like, a lot of times, like, when you're feeling something's going to happen, just second guess a little bit and go, well, maybe it's not. Maybe something else is going on here. Just relax and don't get too hyped up onto something that you're ultimately not going to like. The Spider-Man Far From Home thing, I mean, those characters mostly did end up showing up, obviously, but I mean, it sounded like speculation in a lot of sense. So if imagine if they hadn't shown up or something like that, they would have been. The internet would have imploded, like, if they hadn't. I don't know. I just think everybody's fill out a little bit with speculation. At least ground yourself a little bit.
Yeah, and try to enjoy things for what they are. And again, healthy speculation that happens amongst a group of people, where we don't paint ourselves into a corner with our expectations with something. I think that's totally fine. But if you get to a point where you're like in the rages because it didn't happen the way you painted yourself into your own fan fiction corner, then that becomes a little bit more of a toxic discussion, because people end up getting disappointed because their headcanon didn't come true. But Rob, did I see your hand up just for a moment? Did you want to add on to this conversation? Or can I? Okay, no worries there. No worries. I'm going to jump over to Alex and get the final thoughts on speculation and spoiler culture.
Yeah, I'll just say one last thing. I do obviously theorize and stuff a lot, but if something doesn't happen, I don't care. Like, I go into stuff with no expectations, really, and my motto is happiness equals expectations minus reality.
I like that calculus. Yeah, it's also catchy. You can get that onto a t-shirt for your channel there, Alex.
Maybe one day.
Yeah, but thank you guys. Thank you sincerely for sharing your thoughts on this topic. Our key takeaways here is, we want to be respectful. We want to try to be mindful of people who are looking to be surprised, looking to be delighted. But it's okay if you want to go on 4chan, read the entire synopsis, but you're still going to be there on opening night to see how it all plays out. But we do have to be respectful, but that some of us are living in one camp, others of us are living in the other camp. And, perhaps we should start to think about holding the studios and the media and the critics, whoever's involved in this, bringing them up to a higher level of accountability. Maybe that's a step we should take. Maybe you don't show up. You know the plot to the whole movie, and the studio couldn't control their leaks. Maybe that's, $8, $10, whatever you spend in your market, not to go see that movie to say, this is what I think of that. Maybe you should have worked harder to police the trash bin after the meetings, right? To get at those memos and make sure they get shredded. But wonderful discussion here. I want to close out the episode, guys, by thanking the entire panel for joining me in this discussion. I think we had a great time today. I also want to encourage you out there in Fandom Land to like and subscribe. Please, it really helps the channel out a lot. And we'd also enjoy hearing from you in the comments. Also, take a look at our activities on social media. We're on Twitter, we're on Facebook, we're on Instagram. Podcast of Champions, the POC. If you don't know what it's all about, then you got to find out. Be safe out there. This is Lord Deathman signing us all off. Thank you.